evening, good afternoon, good morning. Whenever you're viewing this, I hope that your day is going well and that you are managing to make it through the turbulent changeover energy. My name is Annie Conboy, and I like to do a general tarot reading every year at the start of the year to get a sense of what trends, what energies, what circumstances we're going to be dealing with as a human race, as a planet, and to get a feel for what guidance, what assistance, what positive energies there are that are coming in that will help us to make it through any turbulence. Now, we already have a bit of turbulence because we always do at the end of one year and the beginning of the next. As the numerology clicks over from 2022 to 2023, it changes the energy. And for me, one of the key things about this particular changeover is all the twos. We're still working on twos. We're still working on duality, but now we've got some creative energy with the three to throw in there. And we're being shown that there's infinite choice, infinite possibility. So where 2022 might have felt a little bit restricted, a little bit pressured, maybe not being able to move as far as and fast as we wanted, 2023's got a boost of creative energy in it, signified by the three, that's going to bring us forward far faster, but maybe in more unexpected directions. So humanity as a whole is having to grapple with lots and lots of challenges at the moment, and it can feel like, how many more years of this? We're not exactly in the roaring 20s yet, which is up and coming, but we're feeling that sort of shift because we've recently moved century. It does take a while for energy to settle down, and we're getting into the identity of the 2000s and what that's about, and we're also getting into the identity of 2013, when we shifted dimensionally, when we shifted spiritually, and the newer energy, the new energies, the newest energies really started to flow for us. So we've got this kind of exciting energy, but it's still about change. And at the start of the year, you might have found that you've been really conscious of your personal challenges. It's really being brought home to you, maybe making you feel quite uncomfortable, how life isn't exactly the way you thought it would be, and that there's stuff that you still need to do to tweak it to get that best life that you're looking for. So this shift in energy is catching us all. It's making us all pause. It's making us look at what our priorities are. And it's making us recognize that as human beings, we're not necessarily set up and operating in the best ways for everybody. We've lost that ability to collaborate. We've lost that ability to cooperate. Heck, we're not even allowing each other's points of view. We're that busy saying, my view is the only view, your view is wrong. We've got a lot of division. But it's come to the surface because we have to start to see what our priorities should be moving forward. And 2023 is a year of starting to put those shifts in, those changes in that remind us our priorities have to be different. As a human race with a planet that's in extreme pressure, what we have to do is shift things around so that we are actually honouring what's best for all of us, and we're going in a direction that gives us all the basics of life, the security of life. We've got a planet with so much abundance, but the abundance is being grasped in tiny little packets. It's not being shared. not everybody is living an abundant life. And so we've got to address this. And we've got quite a lot of work to do over the coming years. But where we're going to start is here in 2023 in saying, no, this is not what we really want. This is not the way that we want to look after our planet. This is not the way we want to be as people. This is not the way we want to raise our children. And just becoming more understanding of the emotional energy and the way in which we need to direct our creativity, because there's so much that we can achieve. We're phenomenal inventors. So long as we stay curious, and so long as we keep asking the questions and going, why does it have to be like this? Could it be like this instead? And trying new stuff. So that's kind of a general introduction to 2023. And I'm just going to shuffle. I've got 3 sets of cards here. I've got my I'm only just able to shuffle. I've had a bit of a wrist injury. I've got my beautiful John Holland tarot pack. I hope that if anybody can read that, okay. It's one of my favourites. It's one I use an awful lot. So I've got that pack, and that I'm going to use to kind of talk about what's happening in the material world. I've got my Angels and Goddess pack. Let's hold it up a bit better. Angels and Goddess pack, Gods and Goddesses, sorry, pack, because the guides and inspirers, the non-physical beings who are with us and helping us, they're around. They're wanting to kind of bring their energy in and tell us, you know, I'm here for you, and who's helping us in any given month or any given direction. And I've also got my Priestess of Light cards, because these are beautiful cards in terms of the divine feminine. We've kind of got a pendulum swinging back. We need more understanding of the divine feminine energy that's in all of us. The human race tends to think in duality, in this or that, in opposites. And actually, within us, we all have masculine and feminine energy, and it's how we choose to exhibit the creative and the make it so energies that change our world. So I'm using my Priestess of Light cards to represent the divine feminine in us, this energy that is on the rise, that's unstoppable. It can't be suppressed. You know, there may be attempts to suppress the creative energies in us, but actually it can't be suppressed. We've passed the tipping point. We passed that many years ago, and now we are into seeing that surge of really powerful, nurturing and creative energy that needs to come forward, because the solutions we need are not the same old. They're not what we've had for the last 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 years. We need solutions that are different. So let's have a look where we're going. So my first card is January, and I've got heart chakra. And in January, what we're doing is finding out what's in our heart. This is where the turbulent energy is actually wanting to bring us. And this one actually is the green. The heart chakra is the only one with 2 colours. And the one that's come out is the green, the healing. And what is really prominent this month is how much our hearts are heavy, how much we hurt, how much human beings are past bearing any more pain or strife or struggle. Now, it isn't immediately apparent across the world, because we've still got very strong forces trying to impose, trying to make everybody follow the same thought process. But actually what's going on is in the heart, people are recognizing that it is not good that having dictatorship or fascism or authoritarianism is not good, if it is not achieved by the goodwill of people and the kindness and compassion of people, it's not good. So on a world level, we've got this battle of light and dark. It's been going on for years, but has become really noticeable in the past 3 or 4 years. And what's happening is the things that we thought were our solid foundations, our structures, are actually crumbling. They have been crumbling since we turned the millennium and came into 2000. And that's okay, because we need to bring things down in order to rebuild afresh. So being aware in January that lots of people are starting to speak from their heart, but maybe not getting the listening to that's needed. As ever, we always have the weightiness of the old structure, the old order, that compresses us. So while our hearts are healing in January, you might find that lots of things are coming up to challenge how you give your self-compassion and how you give others compassion. Helping us in that journey into compassion is the angel of the universe, beautiful, beautiful angel. And this angel is, for me, blue, and she's got a lot of purple in as well. Blue often represents wisdom for me. And the angel of the universe is saying you're being encouraged to expand your thinking. And this is so what we need. We need to be critically thinking through what is going on. We are being asked to follow blindly. And at all levels, what that's doing is creating real suffering and real chaos in people's lives. So the angel of the universe is asking you to start to think about, when you observe these world events, be curious. When you're told things, be curious, ask questions, just check out source information, and be ready to perhaps look at things from a universal perspective, rather than looking at what's happening for me, and I'm looking at what's happening for everybody else, to help us to make the best of this year. We have to have our kind of critical thinking head on. Simply because asking the right questions is important. Not asking questions is where we stick with the same old. And the angel of the universe is really wanting you to find your voice. Blue is also throat chakra, purple is third eye. So you'll get, people will be becoming more tuned in, be expressing their truths more. And it's important to listen. We don't have to agree, but it's important to listen. That's the bit that's missing on the world stage. That's the bit that's missing in kind of the places of power, I like to call them, the politicians, the corporations, there's an assumption that you know how it is in someone else's shoes. And the angel of the universe is saying, hang on a minute, you really don't. And until you listen and acknowledge that they have a point and understand their point, nothing will change. And of course, for some people, they don't want it to change, but the pressure to change is there, and change has to come. You can't hold it back. It will come either through consensus and peaceful means, or it will come through in violence. And we've got a kind of choice this year. How are we going to move forward? Do we need it to get to boiling point before we actually listen, understand, and resolve what's going on? So how about what's going on with the divine feminine energy? And again, this is another beautiful healing card. Healing Earth, the power to give and receive healing. If we're going to move forward, if we're going to help to make change, people have to heal. People have to put aside the hurts from the past. And people have to recognise that actually they don't own anything. Nobody owns anything. It's the earth that is bountiful. And if we overstrip that bounty, if we hoard and are greedy, then we will create imbalance. And in the end, and this is the issue for global warming and climate change, in the end, we end up creating severe, harsh conditions. So in January, you can expect more of the earth saying, I'm not happy, strange and bizarre weather, warmth when it should be cold, cold when it should be warm, floods, fires, earthquakes, volcanoes. The earth is saying, come on, time for change. And we can help by thinking mindfully of the earth and thinking about what's the healing for the earth, what does the earth need, how do we step back from our reliance on things, material things, and that won't be easy. It really won't be easy, because we're talking about returning to a different system or turning to a different way of living. And that's hard when we've been used to it the way it is. So expect a lot of debate about how we're looking after the earth this month. Moving into February, I have to say, for every kind of, I do individual 12-month tarot readings, particularly at the beginning of the year, but I like to do them on birthdays for people and things as well, or at any time when somebody says what's going to happen. I've been picking up the challenge of February. You know, February is usually a short month. We whiz through it. We go, oh, where was February? And it's done. But this year, you can expect a lot of stuff to come to a head. We're losing the ability to govern ourselves. We're losing the ability to carry the best expression of ourselves, and to make decisions that have a sense of the greater good. And I'm afraid February is going to be really challenging in that sense, because the decisions being made are not what the majority want. We're being driven by factions and who shouts loudest, which is why in January it's important for you to find your voice and find your ability to speak, listen and understand. Because in February, what's going on is kind of more warlike than peaceful, more I can shout the loudest, or I've got the biggest guns, or, you know, I've got... And I always think of kids in the schoolyard, I've got the biggest dad, my dad's bigger than yours. So it is going to be quite a task to stay out of the fear, stay out of the gloom and doom, but try to do it, because this is really just the shaking of the tower. This year for me, as when I was kind of doing a little bit of side reading for myself, the tower kept coming out, and the tower is a card that sometimes you have to pull it down to build it back up. And I think on a lot of levels for all of us, this is a year of pulling down to build back up. That doesn't mean that we are worse off. What it means is that we go through this period of losing in order to gain, but losing in lots of different ways that maybe we hadn't expected to. So February is a bit like full-on tower energy, things collapsing. And so just being aware, any plans you're making, anything that you're trying to structure, give yourself enough flexibility in February that you can change, and you've got options. Have a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Make sure you've got plenty of room to maneuver, because the pressures are on to get these structures out of the way and to really shift this idea of how we govern ourselves. The card that has come out for February, interesting enough, is wisdom. Now, when I see this card, I always think about home is where the heart is. I think about the ways in which we all need security. We all need to feel like we've got a roof over our head, food to eat, clothes to wear, that we can connect with one another. And of course, when disruption's happening, one of the things that often goes is that ability to connect with one another, to walk a mile in each other's shoes. And I love this card because here he is with all his wisdom. He's got his book. You know, the sun's shining. There's a beautiful little doggy with him. Dogs. Dogs mean loyalty. What this gentleman's observing is he's observing a family home. He's observing that we are, as human beings, much more comfortable when we are in connection with one another, in positive connection, when we're loyal to one another. And February is going to test your loyalties. It's going to make you think about, are people being loyal to you? Are you being loyal to people? And again, in terms of governments and in terms of monetary systems, you know, we put loyalty into these things on the basis that they are going to benefit us. And then when we realise they're not benefiting all of us, we have to think about, right, what we're going to do, how we're going to change that. So a lot of that will be in the air, so to speak. I'm sorry, I'm hearing that Bill Collins song. I can hear it coming in the air tonight. Oh, Lord. So it's about recognising we're going through this process, but it's okay because we will come out the other side of it. We'll come out better placed. So the angel who's popped out to help us is your angel of psychic ability. So in February, tune in. Use your intuition, and it's a very good month for psychic abilities and intuition, because no matter what's going on the surface, what's really important is what's the energy underneath. And for me, although there's surface turbulence and disruption, underneath there's this growing flow of love, this beautiful sense of the world is healing. We are healing as human beings. We're starting to feel it, not just grab at it, if you like. So this lovely angel of psychic ability is going to be asking you, you know, tune in. What's in your heart? Follow your heart. Don't get distracted by what's in your head, and don't get distracted into the fear. Follow your heart, because in the end, the changes that come will be positive and welcome, and we will create a better environment for everybody, really. The divine feminine energy that's with us is the shamanic journeying. I love my shamanic work. Shamanic journeying, having a purpose, a vision quest, or an attunement. So we're being asked in February to hold the vision, to think about what is it we want for the whole of humanity, what is going to serve us all best, what's going to help us all become winners. That we don't have losers. The idea of losers can be put on one side. So the feminine side of you will want to bring in that kind of nurturing, loving compassion, and the idea of what can we do so that we all gain, we all allow ourselves the connections with each other that bring us the positive. And whatever the world is wobbling with, we'll get the positive. Okay. I feel like I'm being pushed on to March, and I want to go in here. Oh, okay, March. We've got deception and envy. Okay. This is sometimes emotionally a difficult thing to deal with, deception and envy. It's a card that's asking us to take off the mask across the world as we're trying to connect and we're trying to grow a unity. What we get is other people's agendas and our own agenda. Sometimes on our shadow side, we've got an agenda we don't even know about, we're not even aware about. So in March, there's an opportunity to address deception, lies, fudging the truth, hiding the truth, lack of transparency. There's also an opportunity to address envy. You've got more than me, I've got more than you, they've got more than us. And to look at the infighting that's going on nationally with various governments and countries, looking at it and looking at what's the agenda. And what's really interesting is that people who have a lot often don't like to give it away. And people who have little often try very hard to get some more, but never seem to get there. And we kind of have this competitive stuff going on. And it's really interesting that following February, what March is about is finding out what the agenda is, who wants to win at all costs and who wants to go, you know what, it doesn't cost me anything to share. And I do feel, particularly with the Russia-Ukraine situation, that there is a resolution proposed. However, there's an agenda that's not positive. I do feel like the end to that situation is another couple of months further on. But particularly in March, there's this tussle about who's getting what out of it, and addressing why is this person more important than that person? Why does this person deserve this and that person? I mean, sorry, I'm just getting the energies like, you know, corporation CEOs get millions and doctors get peanuts. And it's like, what's more important, the person who keeps you alive or the person who's managed to be in a position at the top of a company to rip off your supply, you rip off people because they're using a natural resource as if it's their own personal resource. You know, we've got questions like that to deal with in March. And looking at the bonuses, looking at the rewards, looking at the ways in which we expect people to do things, and then we don't expect them to have an adequate standard of living. So, and some labour market stuff again in March. But I feel like there's a general swell of movement across the world. This idea of the monetary systems are rewarding the wrong people. So keep your head firmly grounded, keep yourself firmly grounded. Don't get swayed into thinking that you're poor, because a lot of people who think they're poor actually are living with the energy of lack. So be aware of that in March. The energy of lack is on the rise, trying to get us to think that we haven't got enough when we've got more than enough. Right, what's helping us in March, I don't know if you can see her properly, is the Angel of Emergence. She's beautiful blossoms and butterflies, and it's the time for the real you to emerge. We hide behind masks. That's what deception and envy is about, the agendas that we have in the background, whether it's the need for more love or the need for security or whatever. The Angel of Emergence is telling us to be ourselves, to be human. The Angel of Emergence is helping us to step forward and say, actually, you know, them things, those agendas, they're not how I want to live. So you might find in March that you're going through a cycle of deciding how you want to be in the world. And that cycle of deciding choices is going to be helped by the divine feminine, grateful optimism, a joyous view of the future. Recognizing that if you step away from these agendas, what trying to please or trying to work hard, or all these kind of things we feel we have to do in order for other people to like us or to respect us. The divine feminine is kind of saying, be yourself, and look at your future in the most positive way possible. Let the real you shine out and be part of your everyday. Don't wear the masks. That's what we need to take off. All the masks that people are wearing, we need to take those off. All these ideas about I'm better than you because, or you aren't entitled to an existence because I don't agree with you. All of this needs to go. We need to look at that future us with joyful optimism, with that sense of, if I'm living who I am, then I'll get a better life. And again, I feel like there's a movement arising, particularly with our younger children and teenagers, and our young people, those under 23, the crystal generation. They're wanting us to see the love that's there, and they're wanting us to bring that into our future plans. So, moving into April. Oh, I've got the crown chakra card. Crown chakra, beautiful pink. I always associate this magenta pink with heart as well. And heart and crown are very connected. In April, what's going to be up for debate is our spiritual principles. One of the structures that is collapsing is the organized religions, because they've become top heavy with interpretations that only fit certain points of view. Our organized religions, our structured religions, have at the heart of them a beautiful, beautiful sentiment, which is all about unconditional love and the idea that we are loved and that we can love one another and we can love ourselves. And yet loaded onto that is lots of ritual, lots of rules, lots of ways in which if you don't behave like this, you can't be loved. If you behave like that, you're definitely not being loved. And so what's happening is we're seeing the push from religions that are actually falling apart to try to grab on. So you can expect in April, especially as we've got major festivals, you can expect quite a pushback. There's quite a sense of believe what I believe or else. Okay. And that's crept into the ways in which we govern, because a lot of our laws are based on religious laws. They're not based on what's best for human beings. They're based on interpretations of how we should express love. But they've gone so far beyond love and expressing love that they're actually into control and coercive control. So you can expect a lot of instances across the globe of attempts at coercive control, attempts to maybe gaslight or get us to think that this is the way it is when it's actually that way. And again, I want you to retain that curiosity I mentioned earlier. Our crown chakra is our connection to the universal. It's our connection into the idea that we've got an aura and an energy system, and that we are able to connect with more than other human beings, that there's a level we can go to connect outside of being human. And so what I'd also say to you in April is the significance of connections and contact from other non-physical beings. So your guides might spring forward, but the guides of the earth are coming forward, the guides to get us to understand, you know, what we do on our little planet ripples out into the universe, and we're very busily making some of our universe, our solar system particularly, rather more toxic. And we won't be let off planet until we learn to deal with what we've created already. Interesting. So the the angel of finances is coming up in April. There she goes. The angel of finances. So it's about honouring and giving thanks for the blessings you're about to receive. So I do feel, alongside this understanding that there's a universal flow of energy and a universal connection, is an appreciation that abundance, finance, is not the way we've always assumed it to be, that the flow of abundance is there at any given time, and that we can have more of it if we ask for it, if we honour it, if we're glad that we've got it, if we're open to receive all the little blessings. Across the world, we've got real imbalance in finance in this system that we've devised to call money. It's not a God-given system or a divine system. It's a human being system that somebody dreamed up when barter wouldn't handle all that we needed to do. And so we've got to think about that as well. We've got to think about why we get into this energy of lack, when actually the angel of finance says, hey, hang on a minute, you've got all you need. So remembering that as well as the April energy, that there'll be opportunities to receive more, to have more than perhaps looks like at the moment. And alongside the angel is the energy of loss and lack, fear and victimization. Now, in the divine feminine, it's not always fluffy, nurturing. It's often very tough love. And one of the things we have to recognize when we're nurturing ourselves is how frequently we get into the energy of lack and the energy of loss. We think we're losing, and so we fight to hold on to stuff that doesn't really matter. We fight to hold on to things that we can't actually take when we transition this life. You can have all the houses and the money in the world, but it won't stop you dying. It never does. You know, you can push yourself to say, I need this, I haven't got that, I need more of that, and you can live that lack mentality. But the angel of finance is saying, actually, you don't lack anything. You've got so much abundance and blessing. You know, it's a system that's been created to make you live in fear, when actually you don't need to do that. So what is coming through for April is that pressure for us to recognise that if we're hooked into the purely material, and we're hooked into this idea of we need material things, then we'll end up spending all of April really struggling, instead of looking at what we have got. And I do want to give a little note here about the mainstream media, or the media. Everything's mainstream media now. Don't dip into, or don't get lost in the stories that create fear. That serves a different agenda. Remember, we're learning about agendas in March. Don't buy into the way it's being positioned in April, because it's not like that at all. We have to see it differently in order to move through it. And I do feel like there'll be some real spats going on about the media and what they're printing and saying and everything. So moving into May, this is patience and planning, and what we're going to be doing is starting to put together the creative ideas, having those bright ideas, sharing those bright ideas, working towards, planning towards those bright ideas. But we have to recognise it takes patience. It's interesting, it's 2 columns, you know, very rigid, that got light coming between them, and we've got to try and shift the structure. One's an architectural drawing, one's the column in reality. So we've got to do the dreaming up first, and May there will be quite a lot of, this is a month I really think the Ukraine-Russian situation will resolve itself, because there will be productive talks. There will be a clear sense of, we can't keep doing this. I also feel there's a lesson being learned for the leaders and the governments in the countries, that actually, you know, we're creating problems for ourselves if we don't find a way through this. So very much a structural, a revisiting the structure in May, and people will always do what people always do out of fear. What we've got to learn to do is not be in the fear, and do it differently. And the violence and aggression comes from living in the fear. If we want an answer to violence and aggression, then May's planning and May's recognition that we're going to be needing to be patient. We've got generational issues, we've got ancestral issues to remove that violence and aggression from our patterns of living. It's the recognition that we can start, we can make a start. And I'm delighted to say that the card that's come out for me is Angel of Union. Okay, we need to unite, absolutely. And there's a sense here of a partnership is blessed and destined for greatness. So what we're doing, and there's a beautiful dove of peace above the head of these 2 people, what we're doing in May is starting to open up the connection, starting to recognise the connection. So there is around the world a stronger unified movement, particularly on the issue of climate change. That's you know, a huge priority at the moment. Despite people saying climate change isn't real, there's a priority there, because if it isn't real, we really need to understand what is happening to our planet. If it's not climate change, what is it? That's one of my favourite questions. And so there's a sense in May of a coming together. You may find that there is maybe peaceful joint protest, that the most unlikely groups are coming together to say, no, we can't carry on like this. And that we're getting the push from our children and young people, reminding us, hey, we've got to live, we've got to thrive. And how do we do that when there's all this strife? So really strong sense of that angel's energy coming through. The divine feminine, oh, this one, is about brilliant beliefs, luminous life force, personal power. We're being asked to, I love it, it's leopards. The saying is leopard can't change its spots, but we're actually being asked to find the best beliefs, to find those brilliant beliefs that encompasses all, the things we can maybe all sign up to and unify on. And the idea that we all need to have some personal power, some agency in the world, that we need to be able to recognise and acknowledge and respect each other's personal power, that we come in as a life force, and we come in to progress the world. You know, we think we're civilized. We're not really. We're still barbarians in a lot of the things that we do. Just tell ourselves we're not. The human race is not very far from the barbarian, even now. But brilliant beliefs can help us. So I'm expecting as well in May, some inspirational leadership, some brilliant, illuminating voices, showing us, look, there's a way forward here, and that will come in on that divine feminine, that creative flow. So looking to the creators of ideas to bring us those wonderful ideas, not the flights of fancy, not the stuff that doesn't really matter. I don't know why we want to go to the moon and Mars as an option, because we don't look after the planet. So not those kind of thinkers, the thinkers who are concerned about what it means to be human, how we represent ourselves as a human race. That's where we'll get the best of it. So I'm also going to jump into June, and we've got emotional loss. Whenever we have to give something up, we have feelings. There's no two ways about it. So there will be a lot of acting out of feelings in June, particularly with those who are feeling that their power is threatened, those who are believing that they're going to be lesser in some way for some reason. And we have to recognise that we don't deal very well with loss. We don't deal very well with change because it involves a lot of loss. So in June, it's all about recognising that being human, we have human feelings, and that all feelings are valid, and that all feelings can be expressed, but not in ways that hurt or harm others. And some of the emotional loss feelings are definitely expressed through our aggressions and our greed and our need. And we have to kind of try to become more emotionally intelligent. And June's a month where we'll be prompted to think about that, being emotionally intelligent. We've got in that month helping us the goddess of sacred power. Oops, try and get her in the picture. Beautiful goddess. When I think about this, she's her words are, you are being encouraged to take a leading role in your current situation. For me, I always think about birth with the goddess of sacred power. She reminds me that I'm born into this life, that I'm here to be a part of that life, and that if I opt out, if I wallow in my emotions in a way that's unhealthy or unhelpful, then I'm not using my sacred power. So this goddess is really encouraging you to look at what abilities and skills you have. We're far more complex than we allow ourselves to know. And we have got ways of coping and ways of getting through things that we don't even acknowledge. So in this time of emotional loss, this goddess is actually calling on you to recognize that you still have power. You still have a divine spark in you that's the power to take you forward. Now, the other goddess card is about hidden knowledge, Akashic records and silent understanding. And this is June in a T, really, being able to get into your own Akashic record, your own inheritance. What have you brought in? We came in, we were born, came with a preset of abilities. What are those abilities? Are we using them? Do we understand ourselves? Are we able to take loss as part of our emotional life? Are we able to use our abilities and our sacred power to remember we're an eternal being, to actually rise through this and to say, I can let this go. It's time, it's finished, it's complete. So some stuff being completed in June that's really vital to be completed. And I'm just going to